Well, hello, my brilliant friends. It's good to be with you. So a couple of years ago, my family and I made a trip down to Mammoth Cave to go camping. And as part of the trip down to Mammoth Cave, my wife had informed me ahead of time that we're going to be making a little side excursion to a place called Horse Cave, where we were going to do, as she called it, a little light rappelling. All right. Now, the reason she needed to tell me that we were going to be doing a little light rappelling is my wife knows that since well before we were married, I have been deathly afraid of heights. Anything more than a stepladder, and I am just a quivering puddle. I am. So she wanted to warn me in advance, first of all, and she said, but, our kids can do it. And our youngest at the time was like 7 or 8. She's like, if our kids can do it, then it's probably just some little kiddie cliff, right? Like 10 or 15 feet, like, bleep, oh, we're done. Hey, wasn't that fun, kids? And she also, the other detail she added was, by the way, it ends in a pizza buffet. If you'll make anything okay with me, just tell me it ends in a pizza buffet. So we're good. All right. So that day comes, we pack up everybody, we head over to Horse Cave to go rappelling, and we walk into this room where they're going to put all of the equipment on us. And I remember thinking at the time, this is an awful lot of equipment for a little kiddie cliff. So I'm starting to get a little nervous. And then they gave me a couple of pieces of information I did not have previously. First of all, it's not, in fact, a little kiddie cliff. It's an 84-foot sheer rock face that we're going to be rappelling down that empties out into another 125-foot drop into Horse Cave. Little sphincter clenching action going on at that point. The second piece of information was there's a lightning storm on the way in. And if the lightning storm gets here fast enough, we're not going to get everybody over the cliff because, as they put it, you can't outrun the lightning. So you can imagine I have a new strategy now. I'm going to be the most polite rappeller in the history of Horse Cave. As we're making our way out of the room, like, you go first. No, please, you. Oh, go ahead. I really want to go, but I'll let you go ahead of me, right? I'm okay not going. So as we walk our way out to the cliff, I'm last in line, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. There are like 20 of us in line. I'm last in line. I'm thinking if anybody's not going over that cliff because of the lightning, it's yours truly. And then I look over, and I see at the front of the line my 8-year-old daughter, Ava, she was 8 at the time. And her eyes are as big as dinner plates, and she cannot wait to go over that cliff. She is so excited. And I remember thinking in that moment, this is a universal referendum on my manhood right now. There is no way I'm going to stand here cowardly and watch my 8-year-old daughter gleefully leap down the cliff like a mountain lion, right? Not going to happen. So they asked for a volunteer to go first. And I don't know what compelled me, but I raised my hand. I said, I'll go first. I want to die quickly and with honor. That's how I want to go out, right? So I walk over, and I'm standing on the edge, and they hook me up, and I kind of lean back and test it. Now, at this point, I'm okay. My feet are on the ground. As you know, when you rappel, your back is facing, as I called it, the precipice of death, right? So I'm standing there with my rappelling gear on and kind of leaning, and everything's good. And then they told me, and any of you who have been rappelling, you know this is what they say, lean back and put your butt below your feet. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm afraid of. When I hit the ground, my butt's going to be below my feet, right? But I do. I lean back, and I test out the rope, and I lean back, and my butt's below my feet. And now I'm starting to make my way down the cliff. And I get about 10 feet down the cliff when all of a sudden the guy who was leading our group says, all right, everybody, looks like the lightning's coming in faster than we thought. I'm thinking, are you kidding me, right? But I get about 20 feet down the cliff, 30 feet down, and by the time I got to the bottom, I realized that to close the loop, we actually all ended up making it over, but what he was saying is we needed to hurry and get everybody over. Now, and by the way, pizza buffet was awesome. It was great, totally worth it. The reason I tell that story is because I think many of us as entrepreneurs experience those put your butt below your feet moments pretty consistently, don't we? It's all good when we're standing on the cliff, when we're on the precipice, we're at the threshold, our feet's on solid ground. Maybe we even have all the gear we need, we have all the information we need, we have everything we need to make that next step. But at some point, we have to be willing to put our butt below our feet. And that's what bravery looks like. Bravery is acting in the right way, even at the potential risk of personal cost. That's what bravery is. Bravery is doing the right thing, even in the face of potential personal cost. By the way, let me be clear. Bravery is not bravado. Bravery is not posturing. Bravery is not stupidity. Bravery is not boldness. It's not. Bravery is choosing to do the right thing even when it's the uncomfortable thing. And I think many of us in this room, I don't care if you're starting a business, I don't care if you've been running a business for 20 years, I don't care if you're working in an organization, you're in a corporate job, maybe you're a leader. Every single day we have to choose, are we going to be brave or are we going to be a coward? Are you a coward? Those are fighting words, right? We don't love to talk about cowards. We don't love to talk about cowards. We don't write songs about cowards. And the land of the free and the home of the spineless wimp. No, the home of the brave. Well, I guess Kenny Rogers wrote Coward of the County. That's the exception that proves the rule. But other than that, we don't write songs about cowards. We write songs about bravery. Why? Because something about bravery resonates deeply in us. Something about bravery tells us this is the way it's supposed to be. And I think many of us right now are facing threshold moments in our life where we need to choose bravery. Bravery is not a trait. Bravery is a choice. It's a discipline. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about bravery over the last 6 months or so. I've been doing research into bravery and what is it that allows bravery to flourish inside of organizations. And there are a couple of things that need to be present in order for bravery to flourish. Like any good principle, it can be illustrated in a simple 2x2. Of course, everything can. So the first thing that's required for bravery to exist is perceived agency. Perceived agency. We have to believe that we have it within us to act and create change in order for an environment of bravery to exist versus perceived powerlessness. If we feel powerless, we're very unlikely to make a step in the direction of bravery. The second thing that has to exist is optimism. So not only do we have to believe that we have the agency to act, to create change, but we have to believe there's a potential better future if we do, in fact, act. When we have an environment of high perceived agency but pessimism, often an environment of futility exists. And we probably have seen, many of you have seen this in your organizations. I feel like I can act. I feel like I could do something, but you know what? We are what we are. There's no changing this organization. We are what we are. It's futile. Why would I risk myself? Why would I stick my neck out if it's not going to matter anyway? There's a disconnect. There's a lack of optimism, a lack of a positive story driving our action. Of course, when we exist in an environment of pessimism and perceived powerlessness, we're resigned to our fate. Why even try? I can't act. I have no agency. And even if I did, it wouldn't matter anyway. There's no potential better future possible. When we have an environment of optimism, I believe there's a better potential future, but I'm powerless to bring that about. This is the realm of victimhood. I believe there's something better for me. I believe there's a better possible future, but I'm just at the whim and wishes of everybody else. I can't act to make it better. I can't take a brave step. There's nothing I can do about it. This is the realm of victimhood. When we have an environment of optimism and perceived agency, this is the realm where bravery is ripe to happen. If you're in an organization, how many of you lead other people in your organization? Many people in here, right? If you're in an organization and you can't understand why people don't take brave risks, why they don't take steps of bravery, why they don't have that brave conversation with a client, why they don't have those internal reconciliation meetings where we need to resolve this. If you're wondering why that's the case, it could very well be that people, first of all, don't feel empowered to act. They don't feel agency to act. And so it's unlikely bravery is going to happen. Or it could be you're not painting a picture of a potential better future. This is who we are. This is what we believe. This is why we do it. This is how we act. This is how people around here act. Because we believe in a better potential future for ourselves and for our clients. If there's a lack of that optimism, you're unlikely to experience bravery. So those of you right now who are at a threshold moment, and you're waiting to act, and you're not sure if you should act, and maybe, frankly, you're even exhibiting a lack of bravery, you're exhibiting a bit of cowardice, you're not doing the right thing even though you know that you should, I would challenge you to ask, is it because I don't believe that I have the agency that I need to be able to act, or is it because maybe I don't believe that my actions are going to matter anyway? And these are narratives that live deep within us, friends. So bravery exists when we believe in a better future and we trust that we have agency to bring it about. I don't care if we're talking about starting a business or storming a beach. I believe in a better future. I believe there's a better future possible for me and the people I serve, and I believe I have agency to bring it about. This is when bravery is likely to occur. Doesn't mean it will. This is when bravery is likely to occur. So I think that there are 3 thresholds that many of us are experiencing today, 3 acts of bravery that are required of us. So I want to talk through each of those right now and how this plays into how we act in a brave way consistently every day as entrepreneurs or as people who are leading organizations. The first act of bravery is we need to have the bravery to step through the threshold. My friend Thad Cockrell says that bravery is the act of stepping into a dark room and turning the light on. Stepping through a threshold and turning the light on. The problem is we want to step into well-lit rooms, but we don't reward people for stepping into well-lit rooms. Some of us right now are standing at the threshold of a new opportunity, a new idea, and the room is dark. And we're not sure what we should do because we don't know what's in the room. It might be something awesome. It might be a man-eating tiger. We don't know. And what we need is the bravery to step through into the dark room and to simply turn the light on, to illuminate the space. That's what we reward. In his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talked about 2 circles that we exist in. The first is our circle of concern, which is the bigger circle. And the circle of concern encompasses anything that worries us, anything that concerns us, anything we might be afraid of, anything that bothers us in some capacity. The second circle, which is a smaller circle, and it's a subset of our circle of concern, is the circle of influence. These are the things we actually have influence over in our lives, the things that we can act upon to bring about change. I believe that many of us stand paralyzed at the threshold because we're allowing the circle of concern to feed us lies about what lies on the other side of that threshold. I believe that we're listening to voices that are telling us all of the terrible things that could happen instead of focusing on the things that we can do right now to bring about positive change. Instead of focusing on our circle of influence. So those of you who are standing right now at the threshold and you're thinking, well, if I do this, I'm going to lose everything. If I do this, what are people going to say? If I do this, I'm going to lose my reputation. If I do this, then I might fail miserably and end up living in a van down by the river. You might be thinking these things, but the reality is there is something you can do right now to simply take one step and flip on the light. That's all you have to do. Operate within your circle of influence. Don't be paralyzed by your circle of concern, friends. Bravery to step through. And by the way, this applies in every area of your life. Bravery, our circle of concern. I'm concerned about what's happening politically in our country. I am. Bravery for me is not, I'm going to fire off a tweet. I'll show them, right? That's not bravery for me. Bravery is I'm going to sit down with someone who has a different viewpoint and I'm going to talk it through. That's bravery is empathetic. Bravery is always empathetic. I'm going to sit down and have a face-to-face conversation. That's the brave choice. It's not action from afar. So what threshold do you need to step through? It could be, I need to have a difficult conversation with a coworker. And I don't want to do it because I'm not sure what's going to happen if I have this conversation. But the brave choice is I'm going to step through and have that conversation with them because that's the right thing, even though it might come at personal cost. For some of you, it is. I need to start a new business. I need to launch a new product. I need to maybe let somebody go in my organization who I know keeping them around is not serving them or the organization or the people that we serve. It's an act of bravery. So what is that threshold that you simply need to step through? Small action within your circle of influence. The second threshold that I believe many of us are at is we need to exhibit bravery to let go. Bravery to let go. So some of us are willing to step through a threshold. We're just not willing to let go of what's behind us. A couple of months ago, I was walking around our neighborhood. We live in Madeira. I was walking around our neighborhood. As I'm walking up the street, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a monarch butterfly laying on the side of the road. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And so I looked over, and I noticed it hadn't moved in a while. And I got a little closer to it, and I realized that the butterfly was actually dead. It was laying there with its wings open on the side of the road. And I don't know what moved me in that moment. I believe I was maybe hearing from God, but there was something in the pit of my stomach that said, you need to bury that butterfly. And so I did. I actually dug a hole. I found a stick and I dug a hole and I took the butterfly and I put it in the ground and I put the dirt back on top of it. And I had a little impromptu funeral service, God, thank you for this butterfly. I'm sure it was a good friend to all of its butterfly friends. I'm sure it lived a good and clean life, whatever. And as I turned to walk away, I heard again in the pit of my stomach, you need to bury the butterfly. And I think I realized the lesson that I was being taught in that moment. You see, I believe that beautiful things in our life, when they die, deserve the dignity of a decent burial. I think that sometimes when we move on to a new phase of our life, we're still dragging the baggage from the last phase of our life through that threshold. We cannot do that. When you step through a threshold, as Brian said, you're making a break. You're stepping through, you're breaking with the old and embracing something new. But it's hard because so many of us find our identity, we find part of our personal value in the things that we've done. Some of you maybe who are thinking about starting a business and you currently work for a big organization, it's hard to let go of, hey, I've got all the resources I need, and I kind of get a little bit of a charge from the fact that I've got all this responsibility and that people look to me with respect in the organization. And now I'm just going to be some yahoo sitting behind a desk in my home office firing off emails all day, right? You have to make a break from that. You have to bury the butterfly. When I was in my, as I now call them, my misguided 20s, I was an aspiring honky-tonk country music singer. I kid you not. I mean, I'm talking like, can I get a yee-haw country music singer? Okay, and this is like 25 years ago now. But right around the year 2000, I met my amazing, beautiful wife, Rachel, and I suddenly realized that music business, gainful employment, and marrying an amazing woman. You can have two of the three, but you can't have all three. So I chose marrying an amazing woman and gainful employment. But let me tell you, a big chunk of how I saw myself in the world was tied up with this music I was making, with this stuff I was doing. And there was a big part of my identity that, quite frankly, I didn't mourn. When I stepped through that threshold, I didn't mourn the loss of this identity. And so, you know what I did? I mourned it for months and maybe even a couple of years because I didn't dignify it with a decent burial. Friends, your hopes and dreams, when they die, deserve the dignity of a decent burial. Do you have the bravery to let go and to step forward? Not to look back, but to step forward. Some of you right now, you need to let go. You need to have the bravery to let go of the way you once saw yourself so you can embrace what you're being called to. Sometimes something really good has to die so something better can be born. Maybe that's some of you. And here's the third act of bravery that I believe we have to engage in. It's the bravery to wait. To wait? What do you mean? Bravery is all about action. It's about moving forward. It's about taking risks and trying things. No, for some of us, yeah. But for some of us, the act of bravery that we need to engage in is, I'm not ready yet. It's not time for me. Timing is really important. For some of you, maybe it's, I need to get my stakeholders aligned with me so that we're all on this journey together. It's not me out there acting boldly, it's us together acting bravely. A big part of this is having community around you who's willing to speak truth to you. Listen, if you just go looking for people to tell you what you want to hear, you'll always find some yahoo out there to tell you to take a risk. They just want to see what will happen, quite frankly. They don't care about you. They just want, hey, sure, you should totally do that, right? Absolutely. But if you want the truth, you need to have stakeholders around you who are invested in you, people who believe in you, people who have skin in the game with you, who are willing to speak truth to you. So last year I spoke to a group of about 1,000 senior Air Force officers, and there was a general who spoke as part of the event. And if you've never been in a room, by the way, when a general walks into the room and everybody snaps to attention, man, you have not lived. It is freakish, absolutely freakish. But let's just say that when I walked on stage, they didn't exactly give me that same respect, right? It's like, who's this creativity yahoo? Yeah, whatever, okay. But one of the speakers there was a guy named General Casey. He was part of the Army Joint Chiefs of Staff and led the Iraq War, was the head of the Army during the Iraq War. And I was in the green room and I was eating a muffin, and I turn around and General Casey is about 6 inches in front of my face. I think I spit muffin all over his suit, like I was so surprised to see him. And he said, "What's the most important thing I need to know about creativity?" And in that moment, I can't even remember what I said. I was so sort of flabbergasted. I was like, creativity, good. You need creativity, right? But I did have the wherewithal in that moment to say, "General, what's the most important thing I need to know about leadership?" And he said, without missing a beat, he said, "You need to have people around you who will speak truth to you before you realize you need people around you to speak truth to you." If you don't have those people in place before you need them, it's too late. Because by that point, people are just going to tell you what you want to hear. Do you have people in your life who are willing to speak truth to you? People who are willing to say, "Hey, that's a great idea. I think you absolutely should go that direction." Not yet. Why is this an act of bravery? Because everybody else thinks you're crazy. I'm missing the opportunity. It's here. It's in front of me. It's right there. All I have to do is take a couple of steps, and people around you who care about you, have skin, they say, "Well, hold on, time out. Are your stakeholders aligned? Are they all willing to take this risk with you? Have you determined what kind of runway you need in order to take this risk, to make it not a stupid risk, but maybe a brave risk, but not a stupid risk?" Who is your wise counsel? If you don't have them, find them today, now. You need people you can call who will always speak truth to you. Because sometimes we need the bravery to wait. Bravery to step through, bravery to let go, bravery to wait. I believe many of us in this room are facing these three thresholds right now. Viktor Frankl was a Jew who was captured by the Germans. He's a psychologist, was put in a concentration camp in World War II, experienced some of the most terrifying indignities ever suffered by a human being, lost all of his friends, lost most of his family in concentration camps. And he said in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that the people who survived these concentration camps were not the ones who were bold and just overly optimistic. "Oh, we're going to be out by Christmas." He said those were usually the ones who died first. He said the ones who survived were the ones who ascribed meaning to their suffering. And if there's anything, friends, that I can say describes bravery, it would be the willingness to act in the direction of meaning, even in the face of potential suffering. Many of you are facing thresholds that require bravery. Are you going to be willing to step through that threshold? What does that look like for you? No one listening right now has a mandate to change the world. None of you do. I'm sorry. None of you have a mandate to change the world. Every single one of you has a mandate to change the world around you. That's what entrepreneurs do. But that requires bravery. So be brave, friends. You got this. You do. Thank you very much.